I see Jim somewhere.
Hey, he's over there at the windows.
Ready to go, John?
Okay.
Other than the temperature?
Yeah.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Regular meeting Monday, June the 8th, 2015. First item on the agenda, additions or deletions. Hearing none, the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Councillor Haynes, second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Approval on minutes, May 25th, 2015. As presented or altered. Moved by Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Haynes. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. May 27th, special meeting.
So moved.
Councillor Haynes, Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. June the 4th, special council meeting minutes. As presented by Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Haynes. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Two items of correspondence. First one with regards to Christy Clark regarding UBCM and the process to request a meeting with the Premier or a Cabinet Minister on a specific topic. Just for the information of Councillor Coulson, it's kind of part of the UBCM is to request meetings with ministers or the Premier at the UBCM convention. They don't always grant them. It depends on time availability. Councillor Haynes?
So I'd like to see us meet with Minister Coralie Oates. Do you need a motion, or do we need to know why? Or
Jim?
No, I don't think we would need a motion. We can just get direction from council, Mr. Mayor, and set up that meeting.
Okay.
Maybe just a brief description of the topic might be helpful.
local governance and grant applications.
Okay. Was that local governance or government? Local governance or government?
Is it kind of the same thing for me?
No, one's a kind of a process, one's people.
Oh, well, both.
Fair enough. Councillor Coulson?
Nope. Sorry.
Okay.
Scratching, itching on
We have a motion to receive that piece of information.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Haynes. Councillor Coulson, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Second piece, Mark Stevens, Director of Operations in the News First Nations regarding proposed local revenue laws and invitation to make representations. Note in here it mentions any representations on or before August the 1st, 4:30 on August the 1st, 2015. So in that regard, there was plenty of time to provide any sort of information or to ask for input, to give input prior to that. Councillor Coulson?
I've read it. I don't really understand the impact of it.
Basically what it is under the News First Nations side, they, for want of a better way to say it, have taken control of their lands, and my read on the description of the proposed laws is it mirrors very similar to what we do, effectively create an assessment role with regards to the idea of possibly levying taxes on the lands within their jurisdiction, separate from the lands of Lanceville.
Okay, so this is just more of a notification of something going on, not so much a direct impact to
Lanceville
day-to-day
itself.
operations, so to speak.
Yeah. Councillor Haynes?
Question for you to staff. Given that the District of Lanceville provides fire services to First Nations, could we see or get some input as to, the residents of Lanceville have a tax rate sort of they pay? It's based on, it's included in their taxes for how much a real cost of fire services are. Is there some way we can maybe have that reflected, or how they're going to reflect that in their taxation?
Well, I guess if I'm not mistaken, and I'm probably need to look into this, Councillor Haynes, but I would imagine that your agreement with the Snow-Us First Nation is you provide fire service to them for a set fee in return. I don't know what the term of that agreement is, or whether that whether or not that agreement can be opened up and renegotiated when and if they start with their own tax regime. So, if you're talking specifically about a levy within the First Nations lands, I think you need to determine, first of all, are they going to tax resident lands, or are they going to tax any commercial lands, lease lands? You know, my experience in the Cowichan Valley is the Cowichan Tribes First Nation have a taxation bylaw, but it's for the purposes of taxing lands that are being used in a commercial way, but not the residential lands.
Okay.
And so I would think, you know, unless your contract differentiates between providing fire service to sort of commercial and or industrial lands located on the reserve and differentiate for the residents, you know, but I can check into this if you wish. Sure.
Yeah.
I can get some information back for you.
I admit I haven't read it for a long time, but the agreement itself used to have a set term, but it was X amounts per household or per structure.
For structure.
So, and there was no differentiation between commercial and every so often there was an assessment of the number of structures, an amount accordingly. However, at various times over the years, there was a bit of a review to try and see how that matched up with the levy on the natural resident.
I'll check into this.
Okay, great.
Anything further? Okay, motion to receive.
Move receipt.
Councillor Haines, second by Councillor Coulson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Verbal updates. Councillor Coulson.
No, I'm just reflecting on that scene from Frosty the Snowman, Frosty in the hothouse and he melted.
Welcome along.
No, I'm definitely kidding.
Okay. Myself, nothing to report. Councillor Haines.
Nothing to report.
Next item, Parks and Recreation Commission. First, we have the minutes. We need a motion to receive for information.
I move the May 28, 2015 meeting minutes.
For information.
For information.
Moved by Councillor Haines, second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion on the minutes. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. There are a couple of recommendations that come out of the minutes. The first one deals with coordination of 4 2-hour bicycle road safety and maintenance workshops to be funded from the Parks and Rec Plan, quote, other account.
Yeah, I move that the District of Lanceau proceed with the Parks and Recreation Commission coordinating 4 2-hour bicycle road safety and maintenance workshops for children in early July and invite the RCMP to participate with expenses such as food plus $250 to Peter McCaffrey, funded from the Parks and Recreation Plan other account.
Second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Start Councillor Haines.
Oh, sorry.
This is coming out of the Parks and Rec Commission, looking to expand the services in the community to engage the residents with regards to bike safety, just to basically try to encourage our young people to be safe on the roads. And we just think it's something else we can provide as a commission. There's some other things we're working on, but this is where we're going to start.
Okay. Councillor Coulson.
Two questions. The $450 in food, is that per session or for all 4?
For all 4.
All 4, okay. And the enrollment, who would that be handled by or spearheaded through, or is it just a kind of a drop-in?
We're going to try and get people to sign up because it's attending 4 nights in a row. So it'd be nice. Yeah, it's basically one group going through 4 sessions. So we're going to try and get them to sign up, and depending on the success of that, we'll look at doing it again. We're going to go to the schools and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Is there a specific capacity?
There is. I think we figured around, I think we said 20. Is that right, John?
Max.
Yeah, max. So about 20.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask council for a friendly amendment, I missed the word instructor. The word instructor should be in front of Peter McCaffrey, just for clarity.
Okay. Friendly amendment. Councillor Haines, Councillor Coulson?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the word instructor wasn't part of the minutes. So. Okay.
Yeah,
I just assumed it was not our area.
I recorded this one.
Okay.
His
It's a
is.
draft, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting paid.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All's in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Second item regarding the Canada 150 Community Infrastructure Program and possible funding for the Woodlot Trail.
I move that the District of Lanceville submit an application to Western Economic Diversification under the Canada 150 Community Infrastructure Program for a 50-50 funding for the Woodlot Trail, with the district contribution being to a maximum of $10,200 before the June 17th, 2015 deadline.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Councillor Hain.
So this is a grant program that we became aware of that really focuses on recreational and recreational infrastructure. So we are moving forward with the Woodlot Trail. So we saw this as an excellent way to pay for the bridges and the trails in the woodlot. And if by chance we can get a matching grant, then that just helps us go that much further. So that's great.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So the $10,200, I recall that from the capital plan or something, so this would just be a kind of 50-50 match based on the current estimate and then revise or modify the scope of the trail depending on the funding?
Yes, this is in the budget right now.
Right, this amount here.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Unfinished business, bike stand and garbage can purchase and installation. Staff put together a little report including pictures of the proposed garbage can and bike stands. Councillor Hain.
A question first through to staff. So we received an email with regards to the bike stand. So just a question through to staff. Thoughts? Will the stand be all right, or in light of Harriet's email?
Yeah, through the chair, I think basically the stand that's been recommended is sufficient for this time, not knowing what the future is going to hold for the downtown core review and stuff. With the stand that was recommended, it's removable. With the other types of one, they have to actually be bolted into concrete. Therefore, they would be permanently placed in a spot down by the district office. These ones here that are recommended can be moved anywhere in the district.
Councillor Coulson.
And I couldn't tell from the picture there, but when I've seen these before, one of the concerns was being able to walk up the bike. And from what I recall, there's actually like steel bolts or rounds that you can put your bike lock through up top and at the bottom.
Yes, there is.
Okay, so that addresses that concern. Okay.
Yeah, they're hard to see in the picture, but it looks like there's two in between the various things. Okay. Councillor Hain.
Just on the garbage can, for the staff, any thought to perhaps putting it by the front door and taking out that other planter in the corner? Just so it's easy for people to, walking by the road, to use it?
Well, where the proposed area for the garbage can will be very visible from out front as well. This is going to be right beside the bike rack, but on the outside.
Oh, okay.
So it's very visible in that area. I caution putting a garbage can right next to a door, especially if the door is going to be left open at times.
Oh, okay. Good point.
Especially on hot days. Okay, there's no motion on the floor currently.
I move that, do you want to move it? I move that council direct staff to purchase 2 bike stands and 1 garbage can, and place 1 bike stand and 1 garbage can at the District of Lanceville office, and 1 bike stand at Clausen Hall, with funding not exceeding $1,500 from council discretionary.
Seconder? Second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Councillor Coulson.
Council discretionary.
Yes.
Is there not a more applicable budget item that we can put that toward, perhaps?
Capital.
Based on the existing current budget, recognizing this is in addition to it, giving the guidance with regards to what the ministry and that had said, there's an identified area where we can put it now. In theory, later on, when there's a budget amendment, for example, related to the election, if there's unused funds in some other area, it's possible it could be adjusted at that time.
Okay. Because we typically wouldn't assign things like this to council discretionary.
Not normally, not if it's part of the regular budget process, but it has been done before where it's part of an additional initiative. It's come out of there. The only comment I made is I think the $19,000 unspent doesn't take into account the amount for the Port Theatre. I'm going off the top of my head here, but there was still adequate funds there. Okay. Anything further? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Gets us to development variance permit application number 3090-20-15-03 on 7040 Dickinson Road. We've got a staff report here as well as some submissions, both in terms of that were with our agenda package, as well as some additional submissions on the green paper here in front of us. First off, public input opportunities. So if there's anybody that'd like to speak with regards to the DVP for 7040 Dickinson Road.
Hello.
Oh, actually, wait, the back first. If you could state your name and address
I will.
for Trudy. Great, thank you.
My name is Jan Moulds, and I live at 7029 Dickinson Road. I'm actually the owner of the property with my mother, who is called Edith Higgins, so we're owners in common. And I would like to object to both the variance on the house and the variance on the separate three-garage building. My main reason is I live not directly, if I'm standing in my garden looking at the sea, I live not directly opposite the new building. It will be one place to the left of me. And at the moment I can look down the drive and through the buildings and over the roof of the existing building. I can see the sea, I can see the cruise ships going by from various parts of my garden, some better than others. I think we would describe it as a partial view of the ocean, and I like it very much and I enjoy it, we both do. And so I would like to, I know that there's a requirement for the foundations to go up to 1.9 metres because of the floodplain, but I would like to submit that within the existing height limit, that's 8 metres, it is not within the bounds of possibility to find a design that will incorporate and accommodate a two-storey house within that existing height limit, and so therefore I would like to object to the increase in the height limit. I would like to say that one, it will spoil my view. One, it will be looking at, I will be anyway be looking at another very large house in front of me, and I don't feel that I should need to be looking at a super very large house in front of me that goes over and above the existing height limits. The second reason I object is that I think the trend at the moment is to build as big a house as you possibly can on your property, fill it right to the setbacks, and I think very shortly the whole of the seafront will be complete line-up of houses that are all within to the setback limits at the sides, and nobody will be able to see the ocean very much, even when they're walking past on the road. So I object to it for that reason. And I do not understand why two people need such a large building. I would now like to object to the three-car garage. We're looking at a house that's been submitted with a two-car garage in it, and now we're saying we need a three-car garage property. It will be about, I can't remember the exact number, but it will be about 30 feet nearer to me. It will be 7.4 metres high. From my perspective, it will not actually be higher than the house, but from my perspective, it will appear almost as high as the house. At the moment, there's quite a lot of trees in front of it, but who's to say how long those trees will be there? And I do not understand why a house with two garages requires a garage with room for a three-car garage with a loft over it that requires a 1.4 metre extension over the existing height limit. And I ask myself, what's it going to be for? I mean, the existing height limit of 6 metres, I think it is something like 20 feet. It can accommodate any car or SUV or whatever. I understand there's a lot of building going in above it, and I ask myself, what's that for? And so I would like to object to the garage building as well.
Thank you. I just might remind the speakers that with regards to council here tonight, our role is to discuss the variance itself, which relates to height. It's not a discussion with regards to use. Certainly there's an expectation that the use will be within the proper zoned use, but it's not up to council to debate that consideration right now. Further representation with regards to the DVP. Yes.
My name is Lynn Jenkins. My husband Gary Staines. We live across from that property, facing the property. It's slightly to our right. I think Jan has said it very well as to how we feel. We would like to object to both of the variances. It's very difficult to do so when you look at the variance already being granted to the house beside it for the height. In so saying, I can show you our biggest concern is that our bylaws in Lansdale are not being respected. And once we set a precedence with a variance, then we are also looking at that as being a precedence for everybody else. So the house, as much as we don't like it, we feel that might be a little bit of a moot point, especially with the floodplain issue. The garage, I don't see any reason whatsoever that a variance should be granted for the garage. As noted, if those trees were removed, our view would be a humongous garage. With the age of those trees, it's quite likely that will happen. The neighbor on the other side, it's also a 2-story. She's within the bylaw. I don't know what more I can say except I don't want to see the ocean front becoming multi-million-dollar homes, humongous multi-million-dollar homes, where we're losing the Lansdale Village feeling. I don't see that we should have to be changing our bylaws. I don't want to see the variances setting a precedence for this, and that's our primary line with the rejection of the variance.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't catch your house number.
We're 7051 Dickinson Road.
Okay. Further representations?
You should.
I'm Blaine Froats, 7040 Dickinson Road. We're the occupants, my wife Kathleen. She's the 5th generation of the Blood family. Their property was bought in 1890. Homesteaded with the family. 5 generations. Her grandmother was born in 1905 there. Their mother retired there. And we want to retire there and build a house of our dreams and live happily ever after. But in respect to some of these objections, I do want to bring it to your attention. I have in letter form, so do I need to repeat it, or should I talk about it?
Is it something that we've already been provided with?
Same stuff.
Okay. So what we've got is we've got a letter in our agenda package from yourself. Let's see if I can find it here. Page 40.
As well, the green pages?
Yeah, but there's one in our agenda package. Doesn't have a specific date, but it was received June the 4th. And then we have a second one dated June the 8th as well. We received that. Okay. Is there anything to add to the information that's within those?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got the new survey, Kath. Have you got it?
That was distributed.
Pardon?
The new survey has been distributed.
Oh, yeah,
You
on the
have
back there's the survey.
Just want to repeat what went on. 7051 Dickinson had claimed that we were building the residence 3.5 meters at the high point of our lot in the air, and we absolutely, totally are not. I contacted them on Friday and asked to meet with us on site and prove to them that this new garage, which is a 1,020 square foot envelope, is not huge, is the same level, same height as the new house. It's drawn on here by a legal surveyor at the height of the existing land. So that finished product is 4 feet lower than the house, with no mistakes. It can't be, or I'd be you guys would probably make us tear it down. We never had on the original survey, which we got done today, the drop in the elevation, and we can prove that the elevation drop is only 2.5 meters from the edge of our property to the edge of the ocean. And that's signed by the surveyor today, which you've got a copy of, so that's correct. The building envelope is 1,020 for the garage. That is not a huge existing garage. It's a 3-bay garage. It's for my pickup truck, 22-foot boat, and the 3rd bay is for my saws, weed eaters, riding mower, anything like that. I don't leave anything in my yard that gets stolen or to rust or deteriorate or look like a hazardous site to other people. So that is the reason, and I want you to look at this drawing here. I'll give it to you. The 7051 is basically a property and a half over. They're at least 150 feet over to the right from our house. You can see the arrow from their deck to where my garage is going. It's an extreme, it's a large distance of variance. And they already enjoy a good ocean view over Myron Road. They enjoy a view over this house at 7052. They enjoy a view over Hilda Higgs at 7048. And there's 100 feet approximately between my house and Hilda's, bare land, wide open existing view, and the location of this garage. Proposed set back into the trees. They won't see it. And if you look at the eyeball in the elevation from my yard to the top of their deck, the difference is about 45 feet. They're not going to lose their view over our property. It's an understatement.
Okay.
And in regards to the complaint on 7029,
I wouldn't refer to it as a complaint.
okay, well, objection.
Okay.
Objection. Got that paper up here too. When they bought the property in 2005, it didn't have a view. Their property did not have an ocean view. They only got an ocean view basically after they moved in 2008. It was rented after they purchased it. And when the Dickies, our aunt and uncle, built their house and driveways, all opened up and they got a partial ocean view. I agree with that. But they didn't buy an ocean view house in 2005. The other thing about their complaint is
Objection.
objection. And I really object because I don't think they have any right to say what side of the house I should have to live in.
Well, like I said, council's, that's not the issue for council. If it meets the lot coverage,
I'm sorry.
then
I'll
it
retract that.
meets zoning.
Okay. They've claimed that our building site, our buildings are huge, like monster, huge houses covering every square foot that we possibly can. And nothing could be further from the truth, because our new house is going to be built, could be built 2 feet wider to fit the existing zoning. We have that much room on the survey certificate. We are not filling every spare meter on our 0.59 of an acre. The allowable footprint, and this is under zoning requirements, and we've checked, and we've had to make sure we got it correct before we apply for a building permit and come to you folks.
Yeah.
The 2 buildings can encompass 9,039 square feet of site. Our 2 buildings are going to cover 4,132 square feet. That is a great difference to what we're allowed to build bigger. We're only using 45% of the allowable footprint on our lot, less than half. And so we're not really exactly what she's saying we're doing.
And as I mentioned, for council's purposes, we're talking about the variance. Lot coverage is within the zoning bylaw, so.
We're 18'5" between our house foundations and the Dickey's house. The view will still be there between the 2 houses. And then the other question is, they didn't think we could build, we can go build a 2-story house. You see the blueprints? This house could be built lower and still have a 2-story house. Well, I'm going to prove to you it can't be, because when you walk up The lot is not very wide, it's 73 feet, so the house has to be quite deep on the lot. So when you have a deep house in the lot, your building envelope slope goes smaller. And if you look at the blueprints right here, you guys got 4 sets when I applied for the... When we go to walk up the stairs from the main floor, when we arrive at the top floor, the second floor, there's 7'2" clearance until you hit the ceiling coming down in your head. So
And that's with the existing height, the height proposed.
the height proposed.
Okay.
So we can't build the same thing and have it small. It just doesn't work. And, there's a lot. We want the extra room for our grandkids, and our kids, and families. So
Okay.
that's pretty much it.
Thank
Thank you.
Other representations regarding the DVP at 7040 Dickinson? Oh, actually, sorry.
Oh, no,
Please,
you
you
can go
should?
ahead.
Okay.
No, well, I'm sorry I came in late. And I live right next door to the property. I think I did you probably more than
Oh,
anyone.
sorry, name and
Oh,
address for Trudy, please.
748 Dickinson. I actually don't think that this should even be an issue because the government takes it upon themselves to raise the flood level plain, then automatically a house should be in accordance with that, I think. It's not like, to me, it's not like they're building a bigger home or should be going to any variance. It's just a normal 2-story home. And I think it's wrong that other people can say you can't and you could build it anywhere else. I just came to speak on that, but I don't see it as an overheight home. I think it's wrong that others can dictate. It's not really on the water, and as I say, it'll probably affect me more than it will anyone else. And I'm more interested in who I have as a neighbor than if they're tired and someone wants something. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I just came to.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
My name is Rose Adams. I live at 7045 Dickinson Road.
Sorry.
And Rose Adams, 7045 Dickinson Road, and I'm just opposing the variance. I'm new to Lansville, new to the island, loving my view, enjoying my neighbors, and I'm here to support them. The build itself will not affect me, other than the noise, but there's always something going on somewhere anyway. I've been to some other properties, and the home is one thing, the outbuilding, the garage is another. And that is my concern, is that it is an incredible view, and we live in a very beautiful part of the island. I'd like to keep it that way. I'd like to keep Lansville, what attracted me to come here and to buy here, stay. I'm always asking my neighbors, how are my trees? Is there a branch I can take down so I can make what you see more beautiful? And I like that concern. And I think that as a community, I would like to see that more, because I feel we're just blessed. I'm amazed at where I live. I love Lansville, and I'm enjoying myself here. And it is an incredibly beautiful home, by the way. I really do think so. And I really hope that this is resolved, and we can all get along and think well of each other. And I just hope for the best in this.
Thank you. Anybody else for the first time? Yes, sir.
Stand up.
Yeah.
My name?
Name and
Kenneth Brault, and I live at 1194 College Drive in Nanaimo.
okay.
Sorry, I missed the spelling of your last name.
Brault, B-R-A-U-L-T. Quebec
Your address?
Road. Yeah, 1194 College Drive, 1194 College Drive in Nanaimo. Thanks. I have a business called Straight Street Design. I've been doing that for 28 years, designing houses. And as council mentioned, I designed Link's house with a long-time friend.
Technically, your representation to these people, not those people.
Okay.
With all due respect.
All right, that's a good point. Yes. So I want to point out that council has brought out that talking about land use, the density, setbacks, trees, views, and all those kind of things. You've already addressed it. Really, the issue is height, and I want to address that. But I'm really kind of concerned as a community, I'm talking to them again, but as you as a community and then neighbors, that there's all this tension here. So that's why I want to address it. Doing this for so many years, this house really isn't that large for how big the property is, and I've done larger houses and things like that in proportion. As far as the height goes, blocking views and things like that, looking at the survey, it's slightly below the road. It's not that big a protrusion above the road. But what I'm concerned about is just thinking that this is a monster house and a monster height. To address the height issue, the design was made to accommodate this. We've got a really low pitch. Can't recall, we've been working on this thing for 4 years now, and the pitch has been designed to be relatively low. As Blaine pointed out, getting up into the second story for the bedrooms is a bit of a problem. We've got a low pitch in there. I don't have the numbers here, and really crunching numbers doesn't really make any difference. But a lot of houses I do have an attic, anywhere from 8 to 9 feet. This one here, if we built the house normally, in the normal the 0.8 meters, which is our benchmark, we'd be under height, and we still, and it would have designed, the design would have worked, and we would have had maybe 4 or 5 foot attic, I believe, but I'm not too sure. So if we raise the house up and try and meet the height restriction, we basically have to chop off a meter of the house, a meter out of the attic, which there's just no room to do that. Otherwise, it'd be a flat top. We just can't do that. Maybe you don't believe me, but maybe I don't know if I can feel questions. Sorry. But as far as the designer, we've done our best, and like I say, it would meet the restriction at the 0.8, but we've got to go to 1.9. So actually, it's 1.1 we're raising. So we're instead of going 1.1 meter, we're only asking for a meter, and we're still going to be under another 4 inches. So we're really only building about 9.9 above the height restriction. So I think the design, speaking of the designs, tried its best to provide a nice house that has an attic that works.
Okay.
I'm repeating myself. Thank you, Council.
Anybody else for the first time? Yes.
Linda Martin, 7680 Latsville Road. This variance won't affect me, obviously, but I do live beside a house where a variance was passed, and we certainly wish it had never been passed. We objected to it at the time. It was allowed to go ahead. This was a waterfront home. I do object to variances, especially along the waterfront. This is Latsville. This is a small community. Everybody should be able to enjoy water views where they walk along the road. I do not agree with allowing variances. I feel it sets a precedent in this community, and it's one I do not want to see proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for the first time? Okay, second time. Name and address again for truth.
Lynn Jenkins and Gary Staines, 7051 Dickinson Road. I think that it's unfortunate that 4 years were spent to design a home that, from the beginning, wasn't thought of to be within the zoning bylaws. I understand that the floodplain issue is an issue. I just want to quote the report to council by the community planner. Development implications, paragraph 3. Options are available to develop the lot without variances. Also, the variance, the FCL, which is the floodplain ordinance, does not apply to the garage because it is not a living area. As I said before, seeing that there already was a variance with the building beside, the home beside, and the floodplain issue, it's really hard to try and say we don't. It's hard to try and enforce How do you give a variance to one and not the next? We understood that. We wish that first variance had never happened in the first place. There's no reason for a variance on the garage. If you're designing this home for this period of time, why were you not designing it to be within code, within bylaw?
Okay, thank you. Any further representations? Yes.
Hi, John Mills, 7029 Dickinson Road. I'm not objecting to the amount of footprint on the house that the house takes on the plot. I don't have a problem with that. I would just like the height to be within the existing bylaw. And I can understand that the design that is currently on the table may not fit that very easily, but I do not see why it should be redesigned in order to make it fit within the existing bylaw. I'm worried about the precedent too. And I know a precedent has already been set. Does that mean that it will continue to go on for every house that comes up along the waterfront? One precedent has been set, so therefore the next one will be, and the next one, and the next one.
Any further representations? Okay. So that turns it to council. We've got a staff report in front of us. There's been verbal representations as well as written representations regarding the 7040 Dickinson Road variance. Council need any further clarification? Councillor Coulson.
Yeah, I got a battery of questions, and I see no planners, so I'm not sure what we'll do, but
Give it
I'll
a try.
The current house height, do we have that elevation number? The house that's
The
currently
existing,
there,
that's it?
where is it above grade? Because I want to get an idea of the change. Because I see there's a picture on page 7 of our colored ones, and there's an arrow, this is from 729 Dickinson, and there's an arrow pointing at a structure which I think is the garage, but I'm wanting to confirm, is that the house or is that the garage? And then get an idea of the magnitude of impact we're going to have on view lines from that angle based on the shift in height.
Okay, the existing home is basically a one-story.
Yep.
There is a two-story next door.
Yep.
In that respect, so it you know, for example, if you look at this one on page 6, effectively you've got kind of peeking out there.
Yeah, so that's what makes me think this one here, that's actually the garage and not the house.
No, it could be the corner of the house. Tough to tell because it was taken from across the street.
May I ask?
Yeah.
You were at 729, is that correct?
No, 7051, 7049.
7051.
I'm going to come up there if you don't mind.
Never had this before, but okay.
Correct.
So is that the garage or the existing house?
That's the existing house.
The existing house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Might not hurt to ask the applicant just to confirm that
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
while we're playing game show.
The premium thing is the existing house and height elevation is approximately 18 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Single-story mansion.
Keep in mind that picture, Councillor Coulson.
Our existing house is in a hole,
Yes.
in a real hole.
And that picture is being taken from across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the cream thing, that's 18 feet, you said?
Approximately, yes.
About 5 meters, so the new place would be about 4 meters taller than what's currently shown.
Right. Okay,
Can I ask a question?
next question?
I have a battery of them.
Not technically, Gary.
No?
No.
I was going to say, of course you guys are going to go down and look at this yourself, not just go off pictures, right?
I was down there today. wandering around.
Absolutely, you're all going to look at it.
Okay.
I think you made an error in your calculation.
Okay.
You said the new house will be how many meters higher?
About 4 meters?
4 meters? That means 4 meters times 3.3 is how much? 14 feet higher?
4 meters. You got it.
14 and 18 is 32 feet. You're way off.
Okay.
But
Anyway, not for debate, but Councillor Coulson.
Well, no, it's good to know, because what I'm trying to get in my head is just where this house is going to be based on the view lines here. And so there's an elevation at roof peak given on the one schematic of 9.7 meters. And so I'm trying to cross-reference that to what's currently there. And so we have the garage that we can see, and we have the existing house. If the existing house is 18 feet, that's about 5 meters.
Okay, Councillor Coulson, technically.
Sorry, yep, that's about 5 meters.
Yeah.
And so if the elevation at roof peak is 9.7 meters, that's actually 4.7 meters difference.
Okay, okay.
But,
Compared to what's there.
and I'm not sure if these are given as absolute elevations or relative elevations.
Okay. Okay.
My next question, the 8 meter height cap, when did that go into effect?
Oh, long time ago.
The bylaws dated 2005.
The OCP.
But it was existing prior to that because we were governed by the RDN, which had the same limitation.
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to get an appreciation there is, in 1991, we followed the floodplain bylaw, and so that gave that 1.5 meter penalty, so to speak, to houses. But I'm curious of when the 8 meter cap came in, because if you go back far enough in building history, it used to be 32 feet you could build a house to. And now 8 meters is effectively just over 26 feet. And so things have been working against each other to
Kind of squeeze that sort of thing. Yeah, the 8 meters has been around for a long time.
Right. Okay. The current variance that was spoken of, that's at 736, correct? The one right.
Oh, the next door?
Yeah.
That's the address. It's right next door. If you're facing the water, it's just to the right of the property. Yeah.
And that's a house under construction, so that would have been granted last year. Or, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know when it was granted, but yeah.
So any
2006.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, was there something handed in your information?
Brand new information.
We need to copy it so the public can have a look at it. You may want to recess for a period.
Which address is this for?
7036.
7036? Okay. Okay, now,
Yes.
reason for asking.
The comments about precedent. Is there any idea or indication of what our precedent has been on this kind of thing? Have we been generous with variances along the waterfront? Have we not been? I don't want to unfairly penalize someone if variances have been freely granted in the past, although that's not a reason to include or disclude at this time, but just trying to get an appreciation of the precedent that's been set. Because my preference is that these things don't come before us as variances all the time. We figure out with a floodplain height, what's a reasonable height for a house, respecting everyone's view lines, and we put that in the bylaws. And then that way everyone knows what they're up against, and we don't continually get variance requests and discussions like this.
Yeah.
It's not fair to anyone. So back to my original question, any indication on the precedent that we have set previously with variances along the waterfront?
I don't have any idea of numbers, and I don't suspect staff does kind of off the top of their head.
Well, Mr. Mayor, like the legislation actually, it contemplates this process. And I think, I think each individual case is judged on its own particular merits, taking all factors into consideration, both those from the applicant and those from the residents, around. So it's hard to say, gee, we did this 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whether you set precedents. I think you have to just really focus on this particular application before you and the merits of that application. Otherwise, I think how far back you go to look at applications that have been dealt with by the district.
And one other thing.
Sorry.
Sure.
A copy of the document has been provided, and it's just in here on the binder that has the information about the application. If anybody wants to have a look at it before council contemplates it. Thanks.
And one other thing to keep in mind is that under our existing bylaws, it says 8 meters is the limit. If it's adjusted to something, I'm sure a variance application will come in wanting to go higher than that. So, and there's nothing to prevent that, and it's the right of the individual. I'm sorry.
Just speaking to the precedent issue, the shoreline in Lanceville varies from Dickinson all the way to the end. A lot of the properties have steep slopes at the back of them. So every time a variance application came in, they've always been looked at on their own merits. Because in some cases, they had no one backing on them that it would obstruct their view. So it was really not, that wasn't an issue. Right? So you can't really compare precedent. You know, down in our area, some have been approved because there is nobody behind them. And it's a floodplain issue.
Okay. Currently, there's no motion on the table. Is there additional information that people need from staff or the applicants or otherwise? Councillor Coulson.
Yeah, I'd like to actually know the absolute elevation so I can fairly decide which way to go with this. You know, I'm struggling with the garage. I don't see the need for exceeding the 6 meters on that one. But again, that's another one where I'd like to get an appreciation of the elevation, where it's going versus what we're currently looking at there. Okay. Keep rambling here. And as I go to this new information, it shows here maximum roof elevation equals 12. I'm assuming that's meters.
No, keep in mind that's the next.
Yeah, next door there.
Mr. Mayor, just one thing that staff do emphasize is that the interpretation of height and the measurement is done by the building inspector of the Regional District of Maine. You know, the application is based on what the applicant requested, and I just wanted to clarify that what was just submitted and circulated, that was not, I take it, a change to the application.
No.
Right? So.
Okay.
Well, this is the house next door, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can explain that 12 meters.
Yeah. From.
Sorry, there was a comment that the 12 meters could be explained. Can I hear that?
If you feel that you need
I'd like to.
The 12-meter maximum height restriction was the height the house could be built using geodetic science. And there's a geodetic post up and down the beach that use that measurement from the 3.94 meters, where our surveyor is using it from zero, the beach line, the zero line of the beach. So they're done differently. But it does, the 12 meters is basically 4 meters and 8 meters. Those 12 meters.
Right.
Okay.
So they got the 8 meters.
About the same.
That's why the extra.
And there is
Yeah.
a ton of overheight variances in this city, tons of them that were approved.
Okay. Okay, recognizing the information, is there specific information required before making a decision? You know,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
from my standpoint, there's two issues here. There's the accessory building itself, from my consideration. An accessory building does not require the FCL side of things. Accessory building with living area, potential living area upstairs, or games room, let's call it a games room upstairs, does not require the variance to be done. It would move it above the floodplain based on the calculations, but it's not required in the way of living space. The house, for me, is a little bit of a different matter when it comes to the house side of things. To address the living area as designed, if we have to move up. Where I'm just struggling a little bit is whether or not the design itself is the cause, or if the floodplain is the cause when it comes to the consideration of the extra height. there's a mention in one of the pieces of correspondence about redesigning with regards to a different pitch to the roof to achieve the amount, or to achieve the height, which would then allow it to be up from the floodplain side of things. It would just change the structure of the house itself. And so, like I said, I've got, in my mind, kind of two separate issues, per se. Councillor Hain?
Well, I know height has always been an issue. It was a huge issue in the OCP review. It's something that we've struggled with over the last 10 years, every time an application comes forward. The issue always in the waterfront is the floodplain issue. A lot of the properties have needed height variances due to the floodplain, and that is why they've been primarily approved. I also think the two issues need to be separated between the house and the accessory building. One, I can see some justification with regards to the floodplain issue. The other, I do struggle with. It's basically secondary. So, yes, I can appreciate you can change the design of the house. We've been down that path before too, and sometimes then things haven't turned out for the best use of that property. So I sort of struggle with, the difference between the height and the specifics of the house.
Okay. Councillor Coulson?
Yeah, this is an easy one, because I understand the perspective of changing the design, but it is challenging to meet that height. If you work from the 9 meters back out the floodplain penalty, it's 7.1 meters, or about 23 feet that you have to work with.
Okay.
Pretty challenging to get any two-story house in 23 feet with any kind of craftsman-style home with a roof on it. You figure about 8 feet for your first floor, a foot for your second floor joist, another 8 feet. You're at 17 feet before you get any kind of roof on it. So it's challenging.
Okay, now, staff has provided a recommendation. We're not bound by staff's recommendation, just like theoretically we're not bound by precedent either in that regard. Staff has provided a couple of alternatives, one of which represents the a variance for the dwelling unit for the house with the garage attached, and then separately a consideration in regards to the accessory building. And then the other alternative is to not approve the development variance permit application at all. So at this point here, we need some sort of motion from council.
I hate to take this down the road potentially, but how quickly could we get what the absolute elevation would be of the new house and where that sits? Where's the elevation mark at the road, so to speak, so we can get an appreciation of just how much of an impact this could have on these view lines we have in front of us?
Okay. You could get a number, but there's also the visual representation.
Yep.
Whether or not that number
Yep.
can be visually.
We need a reference marker, so the existing garage or the road or something to get an appreciation for what would be happening there.
Staff?
Mayor, I think one of the things that the applicant did provide was in your updated package. He has shown the elevations from Dickinson Road. These elevations were taken by his surveyor yesterday, I believe, and he submitted the plan to us yesterday. No, couldn't have been yesterday, because yesterday was Sunday. But in any event, the elevation at Dickinson Road is 4.1 meters. And it shows the elevations going down the driveway, dropping from 4.1 meters down to 1.3 meters.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, right. So that's what those, and then I think it shows that the site is, relatively flat, about a 1.3 meter elevation over a 27.2 meter distance to the proposed foundation. So I'm not sure if that's helpful to Councillor Colson or not.
No,
But it does give you
So you're looking
an
for-
idea that there is a significant drop from 4.1 meter to 1.3 meter right to the garage and then still continuing on to the home.
I'll make a motion.
Councillor Hain? Make a motion.
I move that council approve the height variance to permit construction of a new dwelling unit with an attached garage within the defined floodplain at 7040 Dickinson Road, as requested in development variance permit application number 3090-20-15-3, by varying the maximum permitted dwelling unit height within the residential 1RS1 zone from 8.0 meters to 9.0 meters, and deny the height variance to permit the construction of a new accessory building subject to the conditions outlined in Schedules 1, 2, and 3 as revised.
Okay. We have a seconder for that motion. So basically, house yes, garage no.
No.
Okay. I'll second it for discussion. Discussion. Councillor Hain.
Well, I'm going to go off Councillor Colson's comments. I think the issue is the envelope for the house is so restrictive because of the floodplain issue that it makes it difficult to build the house with that squeeze in the height. So given that, and given the requirements under the floodplain rules, I can't see how I could argue against that, and so that's why I'm supporting this motion.
Okay. Further discussion. Councillor Cole?
Yeah, sorry. Doing math on the fly. So I did not second it because by my calculations here with this one image I'm looking at, the obstruction will come up about 6 feet, and
6 feet or 6 meters?
6 feet. 6 feet.
Oh.
And based on the some of the resident comments, I can't support it from that.
Okay. So which picture are you looking at?
The one on page 7 with the area to the garage.
Okay. So you're saying the obstruction will be up 6 feet from where the house is now?
No, that building that's there.
Okay, this one here?
No,
Or this one?
that one there.
Okay. Okay, but that is the house.
That is the house, so that makes it even taller because grade at the road is 4.1 meters. So based on the height variance requested, it's coming up 5.6 meters above the road, which is just shy of 19 feet. And as I look at that structure there, we're looking at probably about 12 feet of building, and so I'm doubling it to get to the 18, 19 feet roughly to figure out roughly what we'd be looking at for an obstruction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you taking into account the fact that the residences on the other side of the road are up higher?
Yes, it's not absolute by any means, but
Okay. Okay. From my standpoint, actually, one of the comments of one of the individuals, there's the didn't see it as an overheight. I can't even read my own writing. Word because of the aspect of the floodplain side of things coming in. So it's basically height-wise, it's a normal house. Because of this other regulation, it's bringing it up. From my standpoint, the main house itself, the consideration of design and the space of design, as Councillor Hain mentioned, from my standpoint, to try and make it attractive from a design standpoint and also from a neighborhood standpoint, requires that little bit of extra height. The accessory building I view as more of a luxury. I mean, I can appreciate the storage of vehicles and lawnmowers and that sort of thing, but that in itself doesn't need the floodplain variance. So from my standpoint, I'll support the motion because it gives one piece, not the other piece, though, which, like I said, is more of a luxury item. Stuff like the trees when it comes to that consideration, whether they're there or not, it's not something we have any control over. So we're going to kind of make the assumption almost that the trees aren't going to be there. But so, from my standpoint, the house, yes. The accessory building, no. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda.
Sorry, before we do that one, can we get something from staff to review these so that going forward there's a bit more guidance perhaps on this? Because I fully agree, you know, it's almost impossible to build a two-story house with that restriction in place, and that's not fair to the owners anywhere that's going through this. I think we got to be able to do a better job at setting the height on these kind of properties.
Well, I mean, one of the considerations that theoretically could happen is we could build into the bylaws the different areas and separate height, you know, for floodplain issues and that sort of thing. But there are site-specific challenges that make that very difficult. And as I mentioned before, if you said, okay, on those up in the floodplain, you can do the 9 meters so everybody knows going in what they can get, we're still going to get the variance application where the guy goes, yeah, but I want 9.5. So I think we run into that no matter what, and they're not easy decisions, especially when there's people around there that are going to be affected or not affected and that sort of thing, but it's kind of the game, unfortunately. But certainly it's something, if we looked at consideration of some of the OCP and the zoning bylaw side of things, it's something that could be considered, recognizing, so then it was right up front. You know, floodplain, this is a rule, non-floodplain, that's a rule. Yeah. There is some consideration or mention of it in some of the documents, specific guidance.
Right.
But we can certainly do that. Okay, item 9B, appointment to the RDN board. In light of the current council makeup, the previous alternate for the RDN was former Councillor Savage. So what we're looking for is an individual to sit on the RDN board in the event that myself cannot make it.
I move that pursuant to the Local Government Act, Council appoint Councillor John Colson as the District of Lanceville alternate municipal director on the Regional District of Nanaimo board.
Is there cookies?
No.
Actually, I'll second the motion. Occasionally there is, if it's an early meeting, there's dinner.
So those are Tuesday nights, is it?
Tuesday nights, if needed. In that respect, there I haven't missed a night at all. But just in the event I get hit by a bus, it's possible. So I'm assuming you're okay.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Any further discussion? All's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. There's also the acting mayor consideration.
I move that pursuant to the Community Charter, Section 130, and District of Lanceville Council Procedure Bylaw Number 18, 2004, Council designates Councillor John Colson as the member responsible as acting mayor during the period June 2015 to September 2015, and further that in the event that the mayor and the acting mayor are either absent or unable to act, Council designates me, I guess, Denise Haim as acting mayor.
Second by Councillor Colson. Discussion? Okay. We all better not travel in the same vehicle.
Yeah. We can't fly together.
No further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there cookies? No, not for that one. Okay, which gets us to public participation. Mr. French, name and address for Trudy.
Barry French, 7916 Southland Drive. June the 30th was supposed to be Tom Witz's resignation as the fire chief of the District of Lanceville. He put in his resignation. October, was it? Fred?
Yes.
There was an election in November. How is it that, say, come January, this issue about finding a new fire chief was not dealt with before it came to the unfortunate incidents that have recently happened, And now you've had to ask him to come back to be the fire chief. He's 66 years old. He's going to kill me for standing here saying this, but nobody has done more in this community than Tom. And I find that it's quite disrespectful that there has been a lot of dragging of the feet on this issue to deal with this, because you had to do survey the fire department, survey everyone.
Yeah.
It was left until April or May or whatever it was. And now we have this unfortunate issue, and here he is at the time when he should be retiring. And we all know Tom, he's not going to say no. And this is going to, when's it, August 8th is the by-election?
Yes.
You're not in a position to hire a fire chief until after that. I'm very concerned about this issue. He won't say anything. I'm not speaking on behalf of the fire department, but the point is that this gentleman, all of these different items should have been taken care of months ago to make sure that Lanceville surveyed to see what kind of a fire chief we needed and a fire department we needed. And where am I going with this?
So where are we at this point?
Where are we at this point? So in terms of that timing, as you mentioned, there was the announcement in October or thereabouts. Then with the new council, that's when we commissioned Mr. Murray to do his report. He came out with his report. One of the challenges that we have currently is under the ministry's guidance with regards to council at the moment, we can't.
I promised myself I would not even get going on that issue.
Yep. But
the fact that this should have been done a long time ago. And I mean, the other part of it is that you hired someone to go through and survey to see what you needed. I don't think anybody asked him, and he would have told you the exact same things that that person told you for nothing.
Nobody asked you.
Tom's opinion, or a lot of the issues, if he had been asked originally about this before you even hired someone to bring it in, he would have told you the exact same things that the fellow who did that survey for you did.
Well, yep.
My whole point here is, Colin, I'm coming to the point, is everything that this guy has done, I feel like he's been highly disrespected, although you know him, he'll never say it. And the fact is, during all of this time, given all the millions of things that this man has done for the community, where has there been any consideration at all to recognize him? And I hope that down the road, I mean, we call him the unofficial mayor of Lanceville. No disrespect to you.
Fair enough.
He's a character. But I hope that down the road there is going to be some thought to different things, like making him a free man of the village or something like that.
Yeah.
And I am just deeply disconcerted that it even came to this, regardless of all the other stuff that has gone on. It never should have. Given that he respected by doing this last October.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I am very concerned about this fact after everything he has done.
And I would much rather him not have had to stay on or even be asked, not because he can't do the job, but because he gave that notice. But like I said, when it comes to the standpoint of the way the budget was constructed and the guidance from the ministry, it made it so we couldn't take that last
But my issue is that, to me, there's a lot of foot dragging on this issue in the first place.
Okay.
Well, we're talking January. Nothing was really done about this issue until April or May. By then, when everything else that was going on hit the fan, you could see where it was going. And that's fair enough.
The retention of Mr. Murray was prior to that, but he came out with his report, I think, in the first week of May. Or maybe late April? One of the
Well, my point is that I feel that he has been highly disrespected here, and the fact that I hope somewhere along the way that this community is going to be doing considerations to look after him in the appropriate way that he sure as heck should be. And so I wanted to say this publicly.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just a small quibble.
Name and address for
Oh,
truth.
sorry, Gary Godet, Cleve Oak Road, 7056. I work with words. I have to object to the use of the word disrespect. I don't see that it's possible to characterize the three councillors who have chosen to obey their oaths of office of disrespecting the outgoing fire chief. If there was any disrespect shown in this whole episode, it was from the people who failed to fulfill their oaths of office. So please change your characterization. I fully appreciate all the good that Tom has done. I'm a great supporter of his too. But it's word usage like this that brings attention to Lanceville as a place of discord. And so I respectfully submit to the mayor and council, let's have a little more civility in council meetings than tossing around words like disrespect so carelessly.
Okay, we're going to do one round and then we'll come back. Further public participation. Okay.
Curiosity.
Yes.
I'm not privy to the whole situation. I can hear your frustration, very
Excuse
emotional.
Oh, sorry, name and address.
Name
Yeah.
and address, and you
Lynn
can direct your
Jenkins.
comments to council.
Absolutely. Lynn Jenkins, 7051 Dickinson Road. My question to council is what possible way is there to go forward at this point for this gentleman, our fire chief?
Yep.
Is it true that we have to wait until after the by-election to find a new fire chief?
Yeah, basically the ministry made reference to strategic and financial matters and putting limitations on the existing council with regards to the amendments to things like the financial plan. And so when it comes to that, until we have a full council again, effectively we're limited in our ability to address that challenge.
And that's because the fire chief hasn't been dealt with in the financial plan. So in order to deal with that, we need to amend the financial plan, which we can't do.
Okay, back to you, Barry.
I am in no way, Taryn, that this business about the outgoing councillors or you are blaming you and not them or whoever. The politics of the other stuff has nothing to do with it, is my point of view. But I do believe that this dragged on way too long, given that the amount of time that this gentleman gave notice for this. It should never have come to this. Disrespect is probably a harsh word. And I am in no way besmirching the three of you or all seven of you, or I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think it's on the whole works and the system. There's something wrong in the system that this was not dealt with in a timely manner. It's very unfortunate that all this other stuff occurred, and he'll stay on, but I hope it's not for an excessive period of time. And as I say, I'm going to hear about this from him for even bringing this up.
Councillor Coulson first, then Councillor Haynes.
Sorry, I'm going to hop in. You made a comment about the system. You're absolutely right. It's actually shameful. Tom's a great guy. And I just found out today that he even offered to stay on till September or something like that.
Didn't have much choice.
Well, no, but that's not fair to him. You know, I know he wants to go camping with his grandkids and stuff, and you know, that's not fair. Might sound trite, but that speaks to just the kind of the guy he is and how much he's given to the community. To your comment on the system, yeah, this was a mess. You know, I'm new to this. Got voted in November. First found out about fire chief replacement. I think it was in our strategic planning session. So mid to end of January. The full 3 months go by before this comes up, and then. Well, no, I'm not going to banter back and forth. The whole group, though, council,
We don't need to
staff.
go down all
No, but it just, I agree, the system did not work, and everyone's at fault for that.
I just want to put a bug in your ears to make sure that down the road that you guys are thinking about some sort of recognition for this gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody deserves it more than him.
Councillor Haynes.
So just to reiterate, Councillor Coulson, you're absolutely right. This is disgraceful. And one thing to remember is We have been aware of this since October 2014. So this is the previous council also. And trying to get this issue to move forward in a budget, to get people to start thinking about a fire chief and where this position was going, has been a challenge with both councils. So this is the past council and the current council has refused to move this issue forward. So you're absolutely right. Tom has been incredibly wonderful about standing up for the community and wanting to do that role. But we've known he's wanted to retire for a very long time, and he even hinted earlier than October, so we've known for a long time.
But it speaks in one of the to-do lists back to 2013.
Yeah.
Succession plan.
Yeah.
I got my point.
Yeah, one of the other challenges, Barry, was when, I mean, we're speaking about Tom and his position, is one of the thoughts on council was, with this opportunity to review the chief's position, it got broader than that. It was viewed as, okay, is this the way that we should be delivering fire services, whether part-time chief, full-time chief, contracting out was one of the options.
My point is this process should have started a long time ago.
It should have-
It's
well,
way too late.
As Councillor Coulson said, it was in succession planning was part of the work planning theory 2 years ago, because not only we run into cases with Tom, but you've got all the other officers, many of which have been there a long time, and whether or not there's a succession plan in place to have people moving up, or we give them the proper training to move people up into those positions so that we can maintain some control on the costs, but at the same time affect, the protection for the residents. Tom himself, yeah, he gives, Joanne's part of the emergency social services and that sort of thing. As a family, they've always been involved. So from that standpoint, there wasn't anything specific to Tom. It's just the view of the structure of it.
But everybody knows he'll do it, And I think in the back of everybody's mind, people just say, well, don't worry, he'll still stay on.
No, it was up until, I'll say what I looked at is thinking in terms of recognizing that this was going to quite likely go past June 30th. My view was, can we have somebody else step into that role on an interim basis? But when the letter came from the province with regards to our abilities, it then created a box, effectively.
And then there's the other issue of a gentleman who's going to be in the department 50 years in January. And I certainly hope that there's been consideration about that, because that is a massive milestone.
Yeah. It's a forever big thing.
Doug Parker, 6826 Harwood Drive. This is a suggestion. If you look inside your existing budget, so no financial encumbrance, can you start the search process so that the new council members, when they come in, let's say September, can hit the ground running with maybe 2 or 3 potential candidates? Not sure if you've got the in-house resources to do it. Something you can put up on Civic Info, but someone to get that ball rolling, to start addressing it. And I used to say, as a committee member and somebody who worked with Tom for years, hats off and thanks to him, and also thanks for sticking it out through this and do that. The other thing I just wanted as a comment, people should remember that if we go to 5, this is what quorum looks like.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have the financial encumbrances. Just an observation.
Okay, additional public participation. Name and address for Trudy, please.
Al Dimshell, 6784 Harwood Drive. And I do have a copy of my remarks for the Director of Corporate Administration, which I'll give to her at the end. And my remarks will be relatively brief. Basically, I'm addressing this to the Mayor and Councillors of Lantzville's 5th Council since independence. The hijinks and antics and otherwise personal agenda activities acted out over the last 6 months, resulting in the carefully staged resignation show with the intended attempt to crash this council, is one of the most anti-democratic blunders that many of us will ever encounter. Even with the departure of the 4, the zealousness to overturn the 2014 election results erupted on the scene with the flash mob at the last council meeting of May 27th. To understand this phenomenon, and to perhaps be generous, in understanding, this quote might be insightful. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall in the ditch. It's been said that even the woodpecker owes his success to the fact that he uses his head and keeps pecking away until he finishes the job he starts. Mayor Colin Hain, Councillor John Coulson, Councillor Denise Hain, we commend you for your service to the community, your dedication to your elected office, and your sense of responsibility to the electorate who entrusted you with a mandate until 2018. Thank you.
Any further public participation? Okay, hearing none, we need this long-winded motion there.
The council closes the meeting to the public pursuant to section 9A1A, C, F, and I of the Community Charter for the purposes of considering personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or any other position appointed by the municipality, labor or other employee relations, law enforcement if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the conduct of an investigation under or enforcement of an enactment, and finally the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Do you have a seconder?
Sorry, can you read that again?
Second by Councillor Coulson. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
That's why you don't get cookies. Too much sugar.
I look at you, and I always want to say, Councillor Coulson. I had to stop.
I know you didn't.
Name you because I had to